الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر.
Welcome to Let the Quran Speak. My name is Sophia, I'm your host. The aim of Let the Quran Speak is to help you gain deeper insights into Muslims and Islam, as it is practiced here and in other parts of the world. In this episode, Interfaith Dialogue. Are Muslims open to interfaith dialogue? What does the Quran offer to those engaging in interfaith dialogue? We'll get to that topic a bit later in the show, but first, the problem of plagiarism. The former director of the Toronto District School Board, Chris Spence, has resigned after admitting to plagiarism. Why is plagiarism so wrong? What religious and ethical principles are violated when one plagiarizes? With me to answer those questions, Dr. Shabir Ali, President of the Islamic Information Center. Dr. Shabir, welcome to Let the Quran Speak.
Pleasure to be on.
So this individual, Chris Spence, has been found to have plagiarized articles, speeches, perhaps his dissertation as well. And many people are surprised because he's a very respected individual. So the question is, plagiarism seems very pervasive. How can one avoid plagiarizing?
It's the simple rule is just credit whatever you borrow from others to the people to whom the credit rightly belongs. The Quran in the 5th chapter directs Muslims, وَأَدُّ الْأَمَانَاتِ إِلَىٰ أَهْلِهَا, give the credit where it is due, literally, or to put it in more detail, deliver the trusts to those to whom it is entitled. The idea being here that whatever property or something that you have in your possession that belongs to somebody else, you should really give it up to them rather than to claim it as your own. Another verse of the Quran in the 3rd chapter, the 188th verse, describes some people whom God blames for يُحِبُّونَ أَن يُحْمَدُوا بِمَا لَمْ يَفْعَلُوا. They love to be praised for what they did not do. And this seems to befit the problem of plagiarism.
So one is taking credit for someone else's work.
Yes. And now, in the case of this person that you mentioned, because he was Director of Education with the TDSB, people expected him to hold to this standard because this is the standard to which we hold students as they write their essays. One can cite others and should cite others, but of course do cite them, give credit where it is due, rather than to pass off work as your own. And it is a continuing problem in education that people do pass off the work of other people as their own. And we want the education system to produce people who can think for themselves and express themselves well. And if they borrow other people's ideas without due credit, then they pretend to be what they're not.
And of course, they're not. If a student is doing that, they're not advancing themselves, right? They're relying on someone else. They're being lazy, in fact.
That's right. Our educational systems are geared towards producing people of great caliber, and of course, God has equipped us with great intelligence. We just need to use our minds and apply ourselves, and God promises that He rewards good labor by giving the results. People will have what they strive for. So there's a great encouragement there for us to strive, and we will achieve. But if people become lazy, as you suggested, by just simply borrowing other people's ideas, or sometimes students pay others to write their essays for them, in all of these cases, they are just simply being intellectually lazy, and they are defeating themselves in the long run, because even if they're not caught doing this, and they have to live with the guilt of having done it, and the fear of being eventually caught, and they cannot produce good expressions and good ideas on the fly, when it would really be needed. They would have to go back to the cut and paste board and then return with some apparently fresh ideas which they have stolen from someone else.
So is plagiarism considered stealing? Is it considered cheating? Both of these things?
Well, it's a kind of dishonesty. The Prophet, peace be upon him, is noted to have said that if one deceives like this, it's as if he's putting on a false coat. We know the expression a turncoat in English, depicting a person who has a coat of two colors. So he wears, he either wears it with one color out or the other color out. He can turn it inside out. So deception is like this. In the transmission of hadith, of reported sayings of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, it is known that sometimes people practice what is called tadlis, or it's a deception. Instead of giving credit to the source from which they directly obtained the information, they pretended that they themselves obtained the information from a higher authority. So you might have, let's say, a higher authority and then a middle person who transmitted this information to the reporter. But the reporter, instead of giving credit to the middle person from whom he directly obtained the information, he pretends that he received the information directly from the higher authority, like the greater teacher. And
so his work is taken in a more authoritative light then?
Exactly. He tried to pass off the information like this, as though he was in that position to have met the greater sheikh, the greater scholar. And this is known in hadith studies as tadlis, and it is severely demeaned by the Muslim scholars.
So the scholars themselves have discussed plagiarism then?
Exactly. And they have denounced this as something unbefitting of Muslims.
What is your advice to someone who feels the temptation of plagiarism, particularly because material is so readily available in our age with the internet? You can easily find things, you can easily cut and paste and put it into your document or your speeches or whatever it is.
My advice would be to read widely, don't be lazy, and at the end of your wide reading, come up with your own summary of all of that information, and then think about some way of synthesizing all of that, such that it brings forward a new twist or slant that nobody has thought about before, and you can do that.
All right, thank you for that, Brother Shabir.
You're welcome.
We'll take a break. We're going to return Interfaith Dialogue.